Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video we will study about private temporary table which introduced in Oracle 18c. Oracle 18c introduced the concept of a private temporary table, a memory-based temporary table that is dropped at the end of the session or transaction depending on the setup. If you have come to Oracle from a different database engine like SQL Server, you might be confused by Oracle's idea of temporary table. In SQL Server, developers will regularly create a temporary table to do some work and drop it. In Oracle, a global temporary table is a permanent metadata object that holds row in temporary segments on a transaction-specific or session-specific basis. It is not considered normal to create and drop global temporary tables on the fly. With the introduction of private temporary table, Oracle has an option similar to that seen in other engines where the table object itself is temporary, not just the data. Oracle supports two types of temporary tables. Global temporary table, available since Oracle 8i. Private temporary table, available since Oracle 18c and further. Naming private temporary tables. The private _temp_table prefix initialization parameter, which defaults to aura $PTT_, defines the prefix that must be used in the name when creating the private temporary table. In the example, we create a private temporary table without using the correct prefix in the name, which results in an error. Just to show you, as you can see in the command create private temporary table, and you can see here we define name as a my temp table, and here you can see the error invalid table name. Creation of private temporary tables. The syntax for creating a private temporary table will look similar if you have used global temporary tables. The onCommit drop definition clause, the default, indicates the table should be dropped at the end of the transaction or the end of the session. As you can see here, we can write command like this. After create private temporary table, proper table name starting with aura $PTT_, then you can mention your any word of what you want to add. Then at the end onCommit drop definition. Now we will insert values in this table and we will check without commit to see what will happen. Like you can see, after insert we select count, it is showing one value, means data available, as we mentioned in the command onCommit drop definition. Here still we didn't commit, so we can see one count. After commit we check, now we run the command commit and we select count again from same table. It is showing table or view does not exist. So after commit it has gone. onCommit preserve definition clause indicates the table and any data should persist beyond the end of the transaction. The table will be dropped at the end of the session, as you saw that. Here again you can see onCommit preserve definition. Now command is preserve definition. Okay, so now we are inserting and we are not committing and check contents of private temporary table space. It is showing 1. Now we commit and check again the contents of the data. After running commit command, we select count again. It is showing still 1. Means now we created with preserve definition, so it is showing data after commit as well. Now we can reconnect, means we disconnect from SQL Plus and then we connect again to SQL Plus, and now we run select count from temporary table space. Now it is saying table or view does not exist because it was depending on session. As we mentioned, preserve definition on commit. On commit it was available for this session, but when we close the session and open new session, we cannot find. Also, PTT can be created with CTAS method. CTAS means create table as select method. So we can create private temporary table as select static from EMP. Private temporary tables and PLSQL. It doesn't make sense for a permanent PLSQL object to directly reference a temporary object, as it would not exist at compile time. If you want to use a private temporary table from a permanent object, it would have to be done using dynamic SQL. The following simple example will create a stored function which uses a private temporary table. As you can see, example is in front of you for your reference. Create or replace, we are creating here one function. In this function we are creating dynamic SQL to create a private temporary table. Execute immediate is executing the command, and then we are inserting value, and then we are fetching data also through this execute immediate command. Now we will call function and it will work as expected. As you can see here, we call the function ptt_test1 and it is showing the value 1. Now views. Private temporary tables are memory based, so there is no metadata recorded in the data dictionary. As a result, you cannot use the user tables view to display the list of private temporary tables in the current session. The following views are available to display information about private temporary tables: dba_private_temp_tables. All private temporary tables in the database it will show. Second one is user_private_temp_tables. Private temporary tables in the current session. As you know already, it started with user, so it will show for this user only for this session, and DBA means it will show for all users. So restrictions are on private temporary table. Private temporary tables share the limitations of global temporary table, but there are also additional restrictions. The table name must begin with the prefix defined in the private_temp_table_prefix initialization parameter. The default is aura $PTT_. Permanent objects cannot reference private temporary tables directly. Indexes, materialized views, and zone maps are not allowed on private temporary tables. Primary keys or any constraint that requires an index are not allowed on private temporary tables. Columns cannot have default values. Private temporary tables cannot be accessed via database links. You cannot gather statistics on a private temporary table. The only way statistics will be present is if you populate the table on creation using a create table as select statement. Apart from that one scenario, you are limited to use dynamic sampling for private temporary tables. Thank you for listening, and I hope you understand the benefit and the value of private temporary tables. This is a great option for any work we want to do as a temporary storing data for this session and then generating some report. So this is a great option. And some restrictions, as we discussed in the last sheet, there are some restrictions as well for this table. I hope you like that and you will get benefit from this. We will continue on in the next video for next some good feature. Till then, thank you, goodbye, Allah Hafiz.